I never imagined that a simple holiday dinner with my own family would become the scene of a calculated crime. For over 3 decades, I worked as a structural safety inspector in the city of Chicago, living a quiet and predictable life. At 73 years old, I believed I knew my children well and trusted them completely. That trust shattered on a cold November afternoon when my son invited me over for a massive Thanksgiving celebration. My son Bradley had called me a few days prior to invite me to his beautiful suburban home. He promised a magnificent feast prepared by his wife Chloe, featuring all of my favorite seasonal dishes. My brother Russell was also staying with them during his difficult divorce proceedings, adding to the family gathering. I initially hesitated because I enjoyed my peaceful routine, but the desire to see my family won over my introverted habits. I arrived at the elegant brick house of Bradley right on schedule, carrying a fine bottle of wine. The warm lights glowing through the windows and the rich aroma of roasting turkey filled me with genuine happiness. Chloe greeted me with an uncharacteristically tight embrace, and Russell waved from the sofa with a glass of whiskey. A few other relatives joined us shortly after, making the entire atmosphere feel perfectly normal and welcoming. Shortly before dinner was served, Bradley approached me in the living room holding a mysterious amber vial. He claimed that a specialized health consultant had recommended these completely organic mineral drops for clearing old bodily toxins. Bradley reminded me of a brief comment I made weeks ago about feeling unusually fatigued. I was deeply touched by his apparent concern for my health, unaware of the sinister reality behind his smiling face. Chloe immediately brought over a glass of sparkling water that she had already prepared specifically for me. I watched my son carefully measure exactly 11 drops into the liquid before handing it over with a toast. Because I trusted my own flesh and blood, I drank the entire glass without a single second thought. The meal that followed was absolutely delicious, filled with lively laughter and traditional holiday stories that kept everyone entertained. Halfway through the main course, an intense wave of dry mouth struck me with terrifying suddenness. My hands felt strange and disconnected from my brain as I attempted to lift my water glass again. A bizarre metallic taste coated the back of my throat, and the room began to spin ever so slightly. I assumed that I was simply coming down with a winter virus, completely blind to the trap that had been set. I excused myself to fetch more water from the kitchen, hoping the cool air would clear my head. While standing by the counter, my uncooperative hand accidentally knocked a napkin down behind the waste container. As I bent over to retrieve it, my eyes caught a crumpled piece of medical foil hidden in the shadows. It was a discarded prescription blister pack for a potent drug called scopolamine, which belonged to no one openly. My protective fatherly instincts immediately flared up because I worried that someone in the house was hiding a severe medical condition. I quietly pulled out my cellular device and searched the internet for the specific effects of this unknown medication. The clinical results shocked me to my core, stating that the drug induces heavy confusion and memory loss in elderly patients. My structured engineering mind suddenly began connecting the puzzle pieces with absolute horror. The calculated actions of Bradley and Chloe became instantly clear as I realized my disorientation was entirely intentional. I carefully hid the medical packaging inside my coat pocket before returning to the festive dining table with a fake smile. I pretended everything was completely fine, even as Bradley handed me fresh bottles of the toxic liquid as I departed. I drove back to my empty apartment, shivering from the cold reality of the betrayal. Sitting alone at my kitchen counter, I called my daughter Brenda, who worked as a brilliant corporate attorney in Philadelphia. Brenda had cut ties with Bradley years ago after a suspicious argument over family inheritance, a dispute that I now understood completely. I explained the entire sequence of events to her, from the 11 measured drops to the hidden prescription packaging. Her voice turned incredibly cold and focused as she analyzed the situation like a criminal case. Brenda strictly instructed me to avoid touching the liquid and to send all the items to her immediately. The following morning, I wrapped the sealed bottles and the medical foil securely to ship them through a reliable overnight courier. I used the name of my trusted neighbor Walter as the return sender to ensure complete anonymity during the process. I desperately hoped that I was just a paranoid old man, but the truth was already unfolding. 4 days later, Brenda called me back with the official chemical analysis from a private laboratory she utilized. The innocent health supplements were actually heavily laced with the dangerous prescription drug to induce artificial symptoms of advanced dementia. Bradley had been planning to declare me mentally incompetent, so he could seize complete control of my valuable real estate assets. The sheer weight of his greed and malice broke my heart into 1,000 pieces. Instead of retreating in sorrow, my engineering background demanded a strategic and permanent resolution to protect my life. Brenda flew into town with legal documents, and we arranged a mandatory family meeting at the office of my attorney. Bradley and Chloe arrived expecting to discuss my sudden mental decline and potential nursing homes. They sat down with smug expressions, entirely unaware that their cruel financial plot had already been completely dismantled. Brenda silently laid out the laboratory reports along with the recorded video footage of the trash disposal area. The face of my son turned pale white as the reality of his criminal exposure became totally undeniable. I gave him a simple ultimatum to sign away all future claims to my estate or face immediate criminal prosecution. He signed the legal papers with trembling hands, weeping not from true remorse but from the total loss of his pride. The legal safety measures now ensure that Bradley can never approach me or my property ever again. I salvaged my bond with Brenda, realizing that true family is defined by loyalty and protection rather than mere bloodlines. I still live in my quiet home, keeping my mind sharp and my guard up against the darkness of human greed. Life can shatter your deepest illusions, but finding the strength to stand firm is the ultimate victory.